The Grand Liberty Ballroom sparkled with opulence. Crystal chandeliers bathed the room in a golden glow, violins hummed softly from a corner ensemble, and the DC elite, politicians, philanthropists, and celebrities, mingled beneath banners reading, "United for Civility, a night of service and elegance." At the head table sat familiar faces, senators, business leaders, and fashion icons. And beside the podium, towering in white satin and diamonds, stood Melania Trump, poised and composed as ever. The crowd quieted as she approached the microphone, her voice calm, her accent still soft with Slovenian notes. "Thank you for this beautiful evening," she began, her tone gracious. "It is always inspiring to be among those who believe in dignity, style, and substance in public life." The audience offered polite applause. Melania continued, her words deliberate. "I believe true leadership is shown not through noise, but through grace. Through dignity, not drama. We must remind ourselves what respect looks like, especially when some in Congress choose outfits louder than their ideas." A ripple of murmurs moved through the crowd. "And when that noise is used only to divide, to insult, to scream," she said with a controlled smile, "perhaps it's time to bring back a little class." A few chuckles emerged from certain corners. Others shifted uncomfortably. In the front row, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett raised an eyebrow, her red-tailored pantsuit glowing under the lights like a warning sign. She didn't move. She didn't speak. She simply smiled, slow and deliberate, as if savoring the moment. Cameras panned toward her instinctively, knowing something was coming. Melania returned to her seat, satisfied. But the energy in the room had changed. You could feel it, like air before a thunderclap. Something electric had been stirred. And Jasmine had just been handed a mic of her own. The master of ceremonies, visibly trying to keep the tone light, returned to the stage with a tight smile. "And now, to present our Civic Impact Award, please welcome the Honorable Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett." The room reacted with a sharp inhale. A few in the crowd exchanged glances. Crockett stood slowly, smoothing the sleeves of her bold red suit. Her earrings caught the light with every step she took toward the podium, poised, confident, unbothered. She didn't rush. She didn't glare. She simply walked like a woman who had been underestimated before, and knew exactly how to handle it. The applause was polite, uncertain. A few supporters clapped a little louder. Jasmine reached the microphone, adjusted it slightly, and waited. Silence fell quickly. Every head in the ballroom turned toward her. Even those who had been whispering behind their champagne glasses now leaned forward, sensing that something unscripted was about to unfold. She looked out at the crowd, then slowly turned her gaze toward Melania, who sat elegantly at a nearby table, glass of sparkling water in hand, expression frozen in a practiced smile. Jasmine smiled too, but hers was sharp, calm, surgical. "Thank you," she said, voice steady. "What a beautiful night to celebrate service, action, and courage. 3 things I've learned never require pearls, a pout, or approval from people who stood silently next to power, while the country burned." The temperature in the room dropped 5 degrees. Crockett continued, her tone casual, her delivery clean. "Now, some folks have opinions about what a public servant should look like. What she should wear, how she should speak. But here's the thing. When you've been elected to fight for people who've been ignored their whole lives, you learn not to whisper." She paused just long enough to let that land. Then she tilted her head slightly, her voice dipping into that razor-sharp charm that had made her a viral clip machine. "And Melania," she said, her smile never fading, "you spent 4 years silently standing next to chaos. I've spent 2 fighting it. A beat. We are not the same." The room went still for a split second, stunned by the sheer precision of the remark, then it detonated. Gasps, scattered applause. One person audibly muttered, "Damn," and others quickly shushed them. Phones were already up. Texts were flying. Melania's expression faltered for a half-second, just enough for the cameras to catch. Jasmine glanced down at her note card, as if nothing had happened. As if she hadn't just delivered a political clapback destined for memes, think pieces, and coffee mugs by morning. "And now," she said, shifting smoothly into her role, "let's honor someone who's actually making an impact." She read the award citation. But no one in that room would remember the honoree's name, not first. They'd remember the moment the night turned from scripted to seismic. By midnight, the glittering ballroom was nearly empty, but the internet was just waking up. Within minutes of Jasmine Crockett's mic drop moment, clips were already circulating. First came shaky phone footage on TikTok, posted by a college-aged staffer who hadn't planned on going viral. Then came the Twitter clips, snatched from the event's livestream. The moment Jasmine looked Melania dead in the eye and said, "We are not the same," became an instant wildfire. The hashtag #WeareNotDecime shot to trending in under an hour. Crockett 1, Melania 0, read a tweet with 1.6 million views in 2 hours. A freeze frame of Melania's reaction, her glossy lips tightening into a thin, unreadable line, circulated with the caption, "When the clapback hits harder than the speech." Memes exploded. One popular video edit cut Jasmine's line over a rap beat, bass dropping right as the room gasped. Another superimposed flames behind Jasmine as if she were in a rap battle, while Melania faded into grayscale. Cable news wasn't far behind. On CNN, Anderson Cooper blinked at the camera as a replay of the clip ran behind him. "Greater than, well, that was a political moment for the books," he said, straight-faced, then added with a smirk, "Congresswoman Crockett seems to have no shortage of grace herself." Fox News cut to a panel discussion calling the moment mean-spirited and disrespectful to a former First Lady. But even there, one panelist, barely hiding a grin, said, "You have to admit, she handled that like a pro." The New York Times ran a late-night op-ed titled, "From Silence to Shade: What Crockett's Moment Tells Us About Power, Image, and Speaking Up." Even late-night comedians jumped in. On The Daily Show, the host queued up the clip, then raised his eyebrows. "Greater than, Jasmine Crockett didn't just clap back," he said. "She wrote the Constitution of comebacks and dropped it on live TV." The comment section on Instagram was a battleground of praise, scorn, and sheer entertainment. Gen Z crowned Jasmine the queen of the congressional clapback. TikTok creators reenacted the moment in exaggerated slow motion. Even celebrities got in on it. Actress Gabrielle Union reposted the video with the caption, "And she did it in heels." Respect. Melania's team issued no immediate comment. But by sunrise, the clip had racked up over 40 million views across platforms, and political operatives on both sides were quietly messaging, "Who is coaching her? Who wrote that line? Was it planned?" The answer, of course, was no. It was just Jasmine Crockett, armed with truth, timing, and a microphone. And the nation had been stunned into listening. The halls of Congress buzzed with their usual measured chaos, interns rushing with folders, lobbyists loitering near elevators, and aides whispering behind phones. But this Monday morning was different. Reporters waited in tight clusters just outside the House chamber, refreshing their feeds. Jasmine Crockett's weekend moment had shifted from meme to movement. Political blogs were calling her the voice of the moment. Editorials ranged from outrage to in awe. And now, the woman of the hour was striding through the Capitol Rotunda in a crisp black blazer and white turtleneck, large hoop earrings catching the overhead lights, her walk effortless. She didn't need to say a word, people parted to make space. The press swarmed. "Congresswoman Crockett, was that line planned? Do you have any comment on the backlash from former First Lady Trump's team? Was that a personal attack or a political one?" She stopped, gracefully. Her staff gave her a single beat of silence. The cameras flashed. Jasmine turned to the reporters, cool and unbothered. "That line?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "No, that was muscle memory. You get used to defending your truth when people mistake volume for vulgarity or silence for virtue." She smiled, then added, "You don't plan for shade. You just wear it well." The reporters were momentarily stunned, unsure whether to laugh or write faster. Jasmine nodded politely and continued toward the chamber. No security needed to guide her. The path was already clearing itself. Inside, the House was convening for legislative business. Crockett took her seat, surrounded by colleagues offering smirks, nods, and shoulder taps of admiration. Even a few across the aisle couldn't help but glance over with something like reluctant respect. When her name was called to speak, she rose, this time, not to clap back, but to introduce a new bill focused on media literacy, disinformation resistance, and public education in digital spaces. Her tone was measured, direct. Our democracy doesn't just depend on votes. It depends on informed voices. If we let bad faith messaging or curated silence shape public memory, we lose the meaning of public service entirely. No digs, no theatrics, just work, focused and fierce. The speech was short but resonant. As she finished, the chamber echoed with applause, not thunderous, but steady and sincere. Up in the press gallery, one journalist muttered to another, "She might have started a moment, but she's building a movement." Meanwhile, across the country, in living rooms, group chats, and newsrooms, people were still sharing the clip. Still quoting the line, still watching it back with disbelief and glee. Melania Trump remained silent. No interviews, no tweets. Her last public statement had been a vague quote about dignity in disagreement, posted to her Instagram story and deleted within hours. But the silence now had context. It had been answered, and in a single sentence, Jasmine Crockett had reminded the nation that sometimes, the sharpest truth is the one you don't rehearse. The nation wasn't just stunned anymore. It was paying attention.